I will come back to the beginning of that in a minute. Some stuff at the end which I think is very relevant that I've kind of learned as well. But I think for you, like, you're talking about daily payouts. Obviously, Amazon pays you 2 weekly, but you can request them up to daily. And all the accounts now have like a 2-week delay, should we say? So like if you sell something today, you've got to wait 2 weeks, then you can get the money out. But the other one which Amazon did recently, I think it's about a year ago, actually, I say recently, was that if you're part of like the top 50 big banks, you can get the money instantly that day rather than waiting the 3-day disbursement thereafter. Do you take advantage of that?
I do, yes. As soon as I saw that was rolling out, I instantly signed up. That's definitely, even if you're not part of those 50 big banks, that might be worth it to switch, because that is a huge advantage to get that capital back. From it's 24 hours, I believe it is, you get your capital back for that, as opposed to 3 to 5 business days. That's a huge difference. So that's definitely something I take advantage of now, and I wish that would have been around earlier too. So
you go back 5 years or 6 years, and everyone has instant daily dispersals, which is like, oh my god, I hate you. You don't realize how much advantage you have. It's such a difference. And then the other one is, I learned this in the UK as well, is when you have credit cards, you have really, you said you could spend it in a couple of days, no problem. But we would always do that. We would spend the max we can and then pay it down, spend the max, pay it down. And the reason is because by using the card more, they generally see that you're managing it well and increase your limits faster. Now, the one thing I'm not hot on, and I ask this question, is because I understand in the UK, when we do that through our credit cards, we don't really get big issues around like credit utilization. But in the US, it's a massive thing, part of your personal credit rating, but also as well, I think it's maybe like, don't quote me, like Capital One Spark, apparently, like they report your business card onto your personal card. Don't quote me, I heard someone say that. I just wanted to know, like, how does it work for you? Are you doing that churning as quickly as you can, or are you holding it to the end of the month, paying it down? How does it work?
So yeah, I have the Apple card, which is it's technically a personal card, but I only use it for business. That one, of course, reports to my personal credit, so I always pay it down no matter what. But I just got an Amex Business Blue, which American Express does not report to your personal credit, so I don't have to pay it off. I do because I want them to increase my limit. But yeah, that's definitely something that I was worried about, especially at the start. And there was like a couple times where I didn't, like, I paid off like the vast majority of it, but then like even using a couple $100 out of a couple $1,000 limit is a significant difference from having a zero balance. So that does affect your credit score a ton in the US. So using business credit cards, because that American Express's official business card, they don't report to your personal credit. So that's something that I'm going to be taking advantage of a lot more.
I don't know my personal credit rating, but obviously I'm not a US citizen, but I do have an ITIN and I have a Amex Platinum Personal, and we would regularly rank it up to like 40, 50K a month, pay it down. It's a charge card, not a credit card. Right. I'm sure my personal credit rating is like, oh my God. But Amex still gave me a business credit card and increases my limit. It's absolutely fine. So very interesting. Yeah, it's just how the credit utilization works. So I'd like to come back. You started eBay. And by the way, I'm just going to say, I think this is a great thing. People talk about Amazon as a great opportunity, but by the way, just the $40 a month, if you've got $80 a month to start with, $80 in total, $40 a month for the Amazon selling account is just like going to wipe out your inventory. So I think flipping stuff on eBay, Facebook Marketplace is an amazing way to start. Like, if anyone's thinking right now, I want to start Amazon, but maybe they're watching this journey, what advice would you give? Would you say, do what I just said? Or would you say, no, buy the Amazon account? What would you say?
I mean, I definitely think if you're starting with less than like $500, you could try flipping on eBay. It's a lot of work because you have to hold inventory yourself. You have to package it, ship it, list it, take pictures. There's a lot more steps involved, but it's a lot nicer because you can buy things and your margins and ROI is crazy high. There were some things that you would buy and you'd make 2,000% ROI and you have a 85% margin. Like that's like a realistic on eBay. So I definitely think it was worth it. For me, I started in May of 2021 flipping on eBay. I listed it in May and I didn't get my first sale on eBay till July. So it had been 2 months before I even got my first sale at all. And then by the end of the year, I had done like $8,000 in sales. So it picks up once you get going. And that was pretty awesome. At 16, I had been 17 at the time then. So, and then I rolled whatever I had from that 8,000 right into Amazon. It's definitely nice starting from 80 going to 8,000 in just 7 months, it was significant, especially when you're going to start a new business like Amazon.
Wow. And a question for you, why did you put it all into Amazon? Why not continue doing eBay? Like, did you stop eBay completely, start Amazon, and why? Or like, what did that look like and why?
So yeah, I didn't fully stop eBay. I sort of took a different approach to eBay. What I did was what I consider to be partnership selling, where I would take something from like my family member and I would sell it and then collect, half the profit. So I don't have to put any money up front, which is nice. So I did that with my father was a huge comic book collector. So I took all his comics, which was hundreds of comics, which took a while, of course, and would list those. And I didn't have to pay him anything up front. Just when they sold, I would pay him. So it works out well in that regard. I definitely think that's a nice approach too. I do that still. To this day, I still do the partnership selling on eBay. I do it with my grandfather. He was an engineer, so he has all this electronic equipment that's pretty old, but still worth a lot of money. So I sold a few things for over $1,000, and I would collect, several hundred from it. No upfront cost for me, and I would just get $100, $200 in profit. So it really works out well. That's definitely one of the nice tips that I give brand new people, is to try and do that with your family members, your friends, whoever you can.
And then the transition from that into Amazon, like why? Like why didn't you continue? Like, hey man, I've made some money. Why don't I keep buying more stuff on eBay? Why did you go it sounds like you went pretty much like finished down eBay, ramped up Amazon. Why?
I knew Amazon had a lot more scalability, and I liked the whole buying eBay stuff because it's, you're buying cooler items like collectibles and stuff like that. But like I said, Amazon is just much more scalable, and you could buy things relative bulk as opposed to one unit at a time. It's probably easier to source for Amazon once you get the hang of it, of course. So I knew Amazon was my goal even at the start. I knew back when I first started eBay that I wanted to do Amazon, but I was going to wait just so I could have more capital. That's the only reason I waited. But it's definitely because there's a lot more potential with Amazon than there's eBay.
And when you talk about potential, what do you mean? Can you define that?
Yeah, so there's a lot more eyes on your products. You can buy and replenish things. That's a huge difference. Once you find something that works, you can just keep going back to it. With eBay, especially if you're just doing general reselling, you got to always find the next new item. You can't just keep going and buying the same thing, which is a barrier to entry for a lot of people as well. So that's the whole reason, I guess, that's the biggest thing with Amazon compared to eBay, is that you can just replenish things. You can buy things in bulk and you could have them and they would sell, as opposed to just buying one item. Okay, it sells. Okay, on to the next completely different item. Along with that, Amazon, you have FBA. You don't have to do half the work, which is a nice bonus that Amazon has. So that's kind of the big reason, all those reasons. Yeah.
So obviously you moved from eBay to Amazon, and obviously you're now growing Amazon. So what's that journey looked like? I appreciate we talked a bit about credit cards, but what have been some of the challenges, especially being at the younger age? What have you found has been a challenge for you, and what advice is people who are similar age to you looking to follow the same footsteps in yourself? Oh my God, you did 18,000 last month. That's incredible.
Yeah. So when I first started, I started with retail arbitrage, sort of because it's sort of similar to eBay, where you're going to a physical location and you're literally searching every item up. So it was sort of similar to eBay in that sense. So I was familiar with the process, and I did that for far too long, to be honest. I should have transitioned to online arbitrage a lot sooner. So with that, I think a lot of people should start with online arbitrage if you're just starting brand new. But if you're transitioning from eBay, I think starting with retail arbitrage is a smart idea, because it's similar, like I said. But some of the struggles that I found was just not fully understanding all the software. You're skipping over things. I was searching for reasons to buy things just because I felt like I should buy things, as opposed to, hey, let me see this item, let me find a reason that I shouldn't buy it, because you don't want to overlook things. And I would overlook things just because I wanted to just it's 80% ROI, but it sells once a month. I would do that, and that was a mistake that I made. So you have to always stick to your limits, set your boundaries, okay, I won't buy something if it's not selling this many times per month. Then also with online arbitrage, I think it's best when you're starting, retail arbitrage as well, but mainly online arbitrage, is to go, when you're buying products, go wide instead of going deep at the start, because you're bound to make mistakes. And that was something I didn't really realize when I was starting, but mistakes are inevitable and it's the best way to learn. So, if you can limit the loss on those mistakes by buying, 5-10 units of 20 items as opposed to buying 25 units of 5 items. So that was definitely some some of the mistakes that I made. I would buy a ton of something and then the price would tank, or they wouldn't sell in general. So that's probably the two big mistakes that I made. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like when you first getting started selling, and like you said it, like I skip over stuff. I try and find reasons to buy, not to say why I shouldn't. And you're like, oh, like I like this deal. It looks good. You're like, oh man, I should buy loads. Like, think of all the money we're gonna make. And it's like, you don't, like, I always think of, like, number one, you don't know what you don't know, and you need to be careful because you're going into this in the unknown. So buying less of each item but more of them, risk diversify. Look, and I always think about it like, number one, when a baby learns to walk, it falls over, but it doesn't stop there, it keeps going. Failure is just part of the process, and we don't learn from our successes, we learn from our failures what doesn't work. And then the third one I kind of always think about is, I think Warren Buffett, rule one, don't lose money. Rule two, remember rule one. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, when you're going out to buy these products, yes, of course we want to get rich, but that's the long-term goal. The short-term goal in the first few months is like, your goal is not to lose money and learn. That's it. And so if you do something that makes you a lot of, like, you could have made more money on, fantastic. Well, now you've learned something, well done. But you're going to lose money all the time. Like, even today, you know, I've been doing it 6 years. I still lose money on products, but this is just welcome to life. It's like, it happens. But what we say is we make more money in our successes than we do in our losses. And net even is we have a nice quality of life. Welcome to business. No, I love that. Thank you. Question for you. You talked about, I wish I had done OA sooner rather than RA. Can you define, if anyone, like, when you're in that step looking back, and what I'm really looking for, what are like measurables? What are the specific indicators that people can use to say, oh, I'm here, I should make that decision? And by the way, I am just saying there is no right or wrong. A lot of people will say you should do RA first, or no, you shouldn't do OA. Like, there is no right or wrong. But like, in your case, looking back, what were the indicators that said this is when I should have done it, because and why?
So let me start off with saying the main reason that I switched from RA to OA was because my best product, which had made up the majority of my sales, had been discontinued. So I had a replen that I was buying RA and it got discontinued. So that literally made up 80% of my sales. So if you have a product that you are literally relying on your majority of your sales, that's when you should switch. So I should have realized that maybe 3 or 4 months before I switched, that, hey, I'm relying on this a ton, which is great. I could keep doing that, but let me try and let that work itself and try and learn online arbitrage and get that going as well. As opposed to like when I did switch, that product had got discontinued, and then my month dropped off like 70% the following month because I hadn't had that product. So that was a big point for me. And looking back, that's when I should have switched, was probably 3 or 4 months before I had, actually switched, was because that one product made up so much of my catalog, and it sucked that product got discontinued. I miss it.
We all have that. You all get it. And by the way, like, I can even tell you stories of people who've had 4 sources, of which one source had made 80% of the profits. And like, these things happen, but what we need to do is identify that and then realize that we're at a massive risk, that we're overexposed to one part of our business, whether it be product source, it doesn't matter. Dave, talk to me 1 year's time. Where are you going to be? You're going to be 19. My God, I'm jealous of you. Where are you going to be? Tell me about the business. What does life look like?
I mean, I hope to be probably, I want to be hitting 100K a month. That's the big goal that I have right now. That's like where I want to be. Of course, that's a big goal, especially considering I did 18 last month. That's significantly higher. So I don't know if it'll happen within 1 year. Obviously, that's the goal. But if you aim high and you end up short, you're going to be farther than you would have been if you would have set that goal short. So that's what I believe in. And that's realistically, I hope I'm at least 50K a month by then. That's a pretty nice number in my head. My goals change frequently. Hey, I feel like I should do this. But I mean, in a year, hopefully 50,000 a month is where I will be. Only time will tell, though. So I'm going to keep pushing in the work.
Well, hey, whatever happens, you're way ahead of the majority of people. You've started at such an earlier age that you can afford to fail so many more times, it really doesn't matter. If anyone's getting in contact, what's the best way of doing it?
Any social media. Probably my best would be on Twitter or Instagram. Those are the top 2. And then I also have a Discord that is free for everybody, that I always message people in there as well.
Fantastic. And if anyone wants to know, I'll put all those links down below so you can see them as well. So Dave, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure. And obviously, hopefully I can catch up with you in like a year's time, see how you're getting on. Maybe the infamous 6 figures, #excited, fly out and meet you in New York. Honestly, it'd be really good. But I just want to say thank you for your time, and obviously for sharing your journey, and obviously well done. Massive respect for what you've achieved. And obviously I'm looking forward to seeing the journey coming forward. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. Yeah.